Roughly 10 years ago, I had the Audio-Technica ATH-CKS50TW wired earphones that had a massive bass presence. And why is this of importance? Well, that's the first thing that came to my mind when I put the ATH-CKS55TW in my ears. And we'll talk about the sound quality further down in this review. Now you should know that these earphones come in at roughly £150 in UK and $150 in the US. In this review you can see how these true wireless earbuds compare to some of their predecessors and also some of their modern rivals. So to kick off this video, I want to talk about connectivity and Bluetooth codecs. First off, on the former, the earbuds support Bluetooth multipoint, which means you can simultaneously pair up to two separate devices, for example a laptop and for example a smartphone, whereby if you are receiving a call you can switch from your laptop to your smartphone seamlessly. Now when it comes to connectivity between the left and right drivers, I had no sort of dropouts, and equally I had no problems when it came to going at a distance from my smartphone and when it was through walls, for example when I was in the kitchen while my smartphone was in my bedroom. Furthermore, it should be mentioned that these earphones can run on a dual master driver configuration and therefore can be used independently both on the left and right drivers in a mono format, making it quite handy. The only complaint I have here is that it does take a little bit of extra time when you are taking out the earbuds from their case rather than seamlessly connecting like some of its competitors. Now moving on, I want to talk about Bluetooth codecs, and here I was able to use the Qualcomm aptX codec with my Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus. However, if I had a more modern smartphone, I'd be able to utilize the Qualcomm aptX adaptive codec, which would have further heightened the audio experience and the fidelity. If you do not have access to aptX codecs, here the earphones will support AAC, which is useful on iOS devices, and of course the lowest quality SBC codec if, for example, you have got a legacy Android device. Now with that in mind, and with active noise cancellation enabled, and yes they do support them, and unfortunately there is a slight degradation in the mid-range tones, I put them through their paces. And here it actually brought a smile to my face because it was very reminiscent to the CKS77s that I referenced in my intro. And indeed the CKS55TW have got a warm sound signature and also one that's very bass orientated. And the sub-bass tones, they extend very well, producing a well likened and extended rumble. As for the mid-bass, it's very punchy and also very forward sounding. In other words, it's going to drown out the other frequencies, and if you're a bass head, you're going to certainly appreciate it. But on the flip side, the lower mids are severely pushed back, and as for the upper mids, they are also a little bit veiled. In comparison to other true wireless earbuds that I've reviewed, from the likes of Sennheiser or for example Technics among a few others, the Audio-Technicas do sound a bit V-shaped. Now nonetheless, putting them into comparison to some other earphones such as the ones like from Jabra or let's say Libratone, the Audio-Technicas are somewhat similar. In other words, they've all got a V-shaped sound signature and don't exactly excel in the mid-range tones. As for the highs, they do extend to a relatively good extent, but in my opinion it's worth tailoring them via the EQ that you can find via the app. And yes, they do have a multi-band EQ, so you can customize them to your heart's content. And finally, I should mention its Soundstage, and here I was left a little bit disheartened, and that's because I was expecting these relatively large-sized true wireless earbuds to give me a wide and deep soundstage and also fantastic instrument separation. Now don't get me wrong, they're pretty much on par with the likes of the Jabra Elite 75T and 85T, the Libratone Track Air Plus, and a few others out there, but they can't quite compete with the audiophile market. For example, the Grado GT220s, the Sennheiser Momentum True Wireless 2 and 3, and my favorites, the Technics AZ60s, which really excel in the soundstage department. Frankly, I was expecting a little bit more, but nonetheless, it's not to say that the Audio-Technica's ATH-CKS55TWs are terrible, far from it, it's just that I had a little bit of a higher hopes. So what about when it comes to recording quality? Well, everything you can hear right now is coming directly from the Audio-Technica earbuds, and what I will say subjectively is that it's pretty impressive. Although when it is faced with more exterior environment noise, you'll find that the Audio-Technica earbuds do pick out a lot of exterior sounds. So for example, let me be playing back my friend's track. It's from Priya J called Like Me, and it's coming through my bookshelf speakers while I'm really continuing to speak. If I go quiet, you might have been able to pick out her voice while I was speaking and also when I went quiet. Now, just for comparison, here are the Technics AZ60s, which have the Just My Voice feature enabled, and therefore means they focus on my voice versus the music that's coming in front of me, which is Priya J's vocals yet again playing through my bookshelf speakers, specifically when I go quiet. So what I'm trying to portray over here is that the Audio-Technica's recording quality has got a little bit of a V-shaped sound signature, but is pretty impressive when it comes to taking calls in a quiet environment. If, however, you're going to be using it in a real-world scenario, in other words, in a busy street or, for example, in a cafeteria, you might find that other earbuds, such as the Technics AZ60s, which have specific call features, will perform a little bit better. So with the call quality out of the way, what about when it comes to active noise cancellation? Well, first off, I should mention that the Audio-Technica earbuds have got good passive noise isolation due to the sheer size of the housing. However, when it comes to a technology point of view, in other words ANC, I was left disappointed. Note, however, this can be improved further down the line. However, at the time of filming, there were no competition to my Technics AZ60s. And note, the AZ60s aren't exactly great in this department. Indeed, here, the likes of the Libratone Track Air Plus Gen 1 or Gen 2, earphones offered from One More, or the Sony WF-1000 XM3s or XM4s are far superior than the Technics, let alone the Audio-Technicas. In other words, if you're looking for active noise cancellation and it's very important to you, you should look elsewhere. So moving on to the app, you do have a little nice interface which gives you a quick indication of the left and right battery levels, and you have a few shortcuts which I'll touch upon very shortly. If you were to scroll up, you have got the volume adjustment in 16, 32 and 64 steps, and then you have the ability to see what is playing. If we were to tap on the icon over here, it goes into an audio and system tab. First off, you've got the audio codecs which you can select, although it's worth bearing in mind what your smartphone can actually support. In my case, it's aptX and not aptX adaptive. As for the ambient control, you have the ability to enable or disable active noise cancellation and also enable hear through, which can be quite handy. Likewise, the side tones can be enabled or disabled, and that's effectively hearing your own voice when you're on a call, which prevents you from shouting. Now, as for the equalizer, I do love the fact that you've got a 5-band EQ, so therefore it's not that simplistic. And in my case, I wouldn't add too much to the mid-range EQ because it will take away from the overall accuracy. But of course, your hearing will be different from mine, and you've also got a few preset EQs if you so wish. Now, moving past there, you do have the low latency mode, which you can enable, and this is handy for those people who are mobile gamers, but I had no problems when it came to lip sync delay between my smartphone and the True Wireless earbuds, at least when watching a YouTube video. Then you do have the ability to adjust the left and right balance, for example, if you're hard of hearing on one side or the other. As for the system tab, you have the key assign, and these are physical buttons which are placed on the earbuds themselves. Now, the buttons are very responsive and indeed over here allow you to adjust certain settings, so for example playback or indeed music controls, and this is in my opinion quite handy in comparison to wireless earbuds that do have touch-based input or indeed a button that resonates within the ear. Now, the only downside is that the customization is very limited, at least at the time of filming. Here you can switch between music controls only, for example having play pause only, or for example having the volume controls. You can switch between left and right driver, but other than that you can't adjust the single, double and triple tap functions. The only customization you do have is the long press button, which you can select over here, and you've got, for example, a few different modes such as speech recognition or ambient control, which I suggest will probably be the one that most people use, or if you want to disable it altogether. Ultimately, I would have liked to see more customization over here when it comes to the key assignments.
Finally, you do also have the guide sounds, which you can enable or disable in terms of voice or tone only. And then you do also have to see the ability of what is currently connected, in other words, to the earbuds, and so that it allows you to see what the multi-point connectivity is, at least what the status is with these earbuds.
So moving past the app, I should mention its design, and here it's very fitting with the rest of Audio-Technica's product range. However, if you do have smaller ears or indeed smaller ear canals, you might want to look elsewhere, as the housing of the CKS50TW is pretty large, even when faced with my large-sized ears. Now, the earphones are also IPX4 certified, which gives you a little bit more peace of mind if you're outside and there's a little bit of light rain, although they are not waterproof. Now, my biggest complaint when it comes to the design is actually stemming towards the charging case, because it's absolutely humongous, specifically in comparison to other true wireless earbuds out there on the market, and therefore means that the charging case isn't quite convenient to simply pocket. Now, on the flip side, it does provide a stupendously good battery life. 30 hours to be specific, and when in combination with the 20 hours of playback that you can achieve via the earbuds, it means that you've got a total of 50 hours, which is absolutely insane. Note, however, this quotation is without ANC enabled. Now, the charging case does also have fast charging support via its USB Type-C port, and therefore means if you blast them with 10 minutes of power, it'll get you roughly 90 minutes of playback, which is certainly impressive. So with all of that in mind, it brings me on to my verdict, and quite frankly, the Audio-Technica ATH-CKS50TW are actually not too bad. Specifically, if you are a bass head and you want a long battery life, then these true wireless earbuds might be just for you. As a result, they get my performance award, as I can see myself recommending them. However, there are some other true wireless earbuds out there on the market that provide better ANC or call quality, or indeed a more forward mid-range presence. Some of my suggestions will be down in the description below for your consideration. Now, I'll be intrigued to hear your thoughts of the Audio-Technica earbuds down in the comment section below, and if you've liked this independent review, definitely do drop a like, subscribe and hit that bell notification, all of which are definitely appreciated and allows me to continue delivering honest reviews like this one. As such, I've been Totally Dubbed, and I'll hopefully see you in the next one. Take care of yourselves and goodbye.